You know, the old saying is if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I think, fortunate enough, I love what I do. I love clinical dentistry.
The most important thing for me is that I genuinely enjoy what I do.
Well, I enjoy it. I enjoy the work. I enjoy the client group. I enjoy working with families and children with ADHD.
I find that if you enjoy your work, you're less likely to be stressed, less likely to feel overworked and overwhelmed.
To really enjoy what you do, to find the pleasure in your work. And of course, people might say, well, that's easy if you like what you do, but what about if you don't? I think the answer there is that if you don't like it, you're in the wrong part of medicine. And medicine is such a wonderfully broad and deep career that you can find something in medicine that you would love to do. I have a set of key performance indicators for myself that sit on my shoulder and nobody else can see them. Am I being respectful and listening to everybody? Am I leading the discussion forward without forcing it? Do I know what I'm talking about? Do I have my facts and figures? And am I remaining calm? But the most important one is, am I staying within my own moral and ethical boundaries? And as long as I can answer yes to all of those, I'm fine. It doesn't matter what you throw at me, I'm okay. The tutorial that I do with the medical students on thriving in a career in medicine, I start by telling them that the reason I'm doing this is because I want them to thrive in medicine through their whole careers so that people like us can retire.
Thriving as a medical student is definitely a difficult thing, but I think it's about finding the right people to surround yourself with and finding tools to help you stay interested in the subject, because it is a vocational career and at the end of the day you do have to love what you do. Finding your subject of interest, things that you find particularly interesting, because obviously medicine is such a broad subject area and there's so much in there that you can explore. I think just finding that thing that keeps you interested, going into more detail. Some of the things that I've definitely learned after my first year that I'm trying to implement in my second year, first would be, don't take yourself too seriously. I think that's a big thing for a lot of people. I think just self-assurance is one of the hardest things to have, but it's the most important thing to have.
They also say that within about 10 years, 50% of what you learned at medical school was wrong. And so it is a career where you have to continue to learn.
I've been in mental health for the past 6 years now, and I feel like I'm always learning, constantly evolving, and that keeps things fresh and exciting. I feel like if you have that kind of passion for your work and your role, you're less likely to be overwhelmed, more likely to do well and be your best, really.
So I think one of the troubles in medicine is people retreat to being competent, super competent in the one narrow thing they're good at, and then get bored once they've got that, as distinct from actually change and being challenged and needing to learn new things. I've had to move into child areas like autism, which I knew nothing about. I've had to move into digital technologies, which I barely understand what's in the engine of a car, let alone the digital world.
I definitely am enjoying having a more hands-on role. It's something new for me. I feel like it's kind of challenging. I feel like I thrive when I'm able to challenge myself, have goals and targets and things that I want to achieve further on in my career. That motivates me, that keeps me going, keeps me on my toes, keeps me excited. I knew from quite early on that I wanted to work in hospital. I knew I wanted to eventually prescribe, and I've kind of worked towards that goal.
It's good to have a plan. It's good to have, we have to have professional development plans, PDPs, you know, what's your clinical work like, what areas you want to improve upon, which is a good thing to have because it just keeps an eye on things. But in my professional development plan, I always have a little bit of a side plan, you know, what emotional development plan, where do I want to feel in that scale as well. So having that awareness. Anybody who's involved in healthcare professions where there's a lot of call on your inner self, because you're giving a lot out, you need to balance that up. You need to have something for yourself. One thing that's personal to me is my personal practice of meditation and yoga, and that's really helped. It's helped me process things, reframe situations, helped me dealing with patients, controlling my frustration, controlling my anger. You've got to be actively engaging, finding that balance, not let a balance find you, because that will never happen, because you'll get pulled to do this and pulled to do that. Next thing you know, you're pulled in so many ways, you think, oh, where am I?
Learn to say no so that you can put space in your diary that is for you. I do that with my clients. I say there has to be regular, not a holiday every 3 months when you're exhausted, but every week there is a day that's yours, or a morning that's yours. And it might, used to put in my diary, do nothing today. I try not to push in any area of my life, but allow and let things unfold. And so the music is very much, I don't do stuff that feels difficult anymore. If somebody asks me to drive, 300 miles for no money, and I just say no. I didn't feel like that as a young person. I was always like, oh, I've got to work harder and go faster. And I don't feel that anymore. It's like there's an element of trust of like, it'll come in, don't worry. Don't worry.
For all the sunsets I didn't see, for all the times I abandoned me, the only thing that pulled me through is I was born loving you.
Maybe it always comes back to honouring what you do. So if you really deeply honour what you do, I think you'll be energised by it. Here I am in this room, and I am consciously listening to you with all of me. I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm listening to the tone of your voice. I'm listening to what you're not saying. I'm listening to your body, and I'm listening to the room. And that's a very, it's a hyper-aware state. And so for me, that feels quite energizing.
People share so much with you.
Yeah.
And it feels very intimate to be so close to someone.
All their psychological problems, but also their physical problems. And it's so special that they tell that to me, because of course that's not something, those things they didn't even tell to anyone, and then they're telling it to you and you're like, whoa.
You're both working on the patient's health in all directions, so it's mental health, emotional health, physical health, but you're really like forming a team together, and you're taking steps, no matter how big the steps are, but that gives me a lot of energy.
You really can make a difference for a patient because you have time, and if you just listen very carefully and you be there for someone, and that is sometimes something you can do as an intern, but not when as a specialist, because you then just have a few time, less time.
Mm-hmm. Few time.
Yeah, just not enough time.
The amount of people who've cried in a dental chair after treatment's completed, the amount of hugs I get, it's quite a lot, and it's quite touching. It's deeply touching. When it happens for the first time, you kind of get shocked by, I just did this. It's quite menial or quite simple, but for you it was quite a big change. 15 maybe years ago, my grandfather had died, and it's an Indian tradition that the men of the family go wash the body before the funeral. There's myself and my two brothers, my dad and my uncle. And the undertaker who was watching this, he was like, don't worry, he can't feel a thing, he's gone to a better place now. And it was just, and I just thought, you've been in the job too long, you just lost that kind of empathetic feeling. And I kind of remember that I never want to be that person who belittles what's going on or what the patient's experiencing.
You need to be good at your job as well, I think. You need to be competent at least to be able to maintain your enthusiasm.
Depth of knowledge. You know, it's really good to take that little extra, understand more about what you're doing.
Make sure you're good at what you do and you know you do it well. You're never going to get anywhere if you do the bare minimum, because you're not coming from a good standpoint. People go above and beyond if they know you will as well. So my dad was born in Poland in 1920 and was in a labour camp in Siberia, and then ended up coming to England and became a very successful GP and police surgeon. If you're going to do something, you be the best at it, and he was the best at what he did. And I think that was always drummed into me from a very early age. If you've got a happy team, then coming to work is a pleasure for everyone, and I think that then is transmitted into how you deal with clients and relationships they can build with our experts and doctors. Having the dogs in the office makes a difference, and because what we're dealing with as well can be quite disturbing, I suppose, what we're reading. So when you've got a kind of a jovial office where you know you can read something and say, oh my goodness me, look at this, and everyone can chat, and they've all got good relationships so they feel comfortable. We have a little 11 o'clock exercise thing, we have a personal trainer who comes in once a week, so we do a lot together, a lot of challenges together that everyone gets better fitness-wise and sees that growth, and I think then that helps them grow in their role. Sea swims as well, we do those as a team. We started those in the winter. It is heavy work, and I think it just keeps you positive, and they say about exercise and endorphins, and it's so true.
And I think you need to have good people to work with as well. I mean, you can't like everybody you work with, but I think it's important to try and see the positive in people that you do work with, because they're all there for the same reason, really. I try to avoid being negative, and I try to avoid gossip, and I try to avoid getting caught up in that. I think that's been helpful for my mental health. And if people feel as if you're somebody who stays calm, then I think that has an impact on them sometimes as well. So I quite enjoy being seen as somebody who's quite calm. That's been helpful over the years.
It's very easy to make assumptions when you're supportive that the person who's experiencing the support is experiencing the same thing that you intend to provide. So unless you get the feedback, you can't fine-tune it. I use a photograph of a fantastic, flourishing hillside in Italy to convey what an effective workplace culture looks like. And the reason I choose the photograph is that you couldn't wish for a more flourishing context where there are poppies and blue flowers. There's many different types of flowers. They're all different types of heights. They're all flourishing, which to me reflects diversity, reflects that we all bring something different and we can complement each other.
But people have said to me oftentimes, oh, why did you do that? I went, because the opportunity was there, because it looked interesting. You know, it wasn't an attention deficit problem, it was actually a focus on, wow, that could be really interesting. Those people might know better how to solve what we're trying to solve in the same way that we feel we're making no progress with. They got different ways of going. And fundamentally, that's disruptive. It can be anxiety provoking, but I would say it's a huge amount of fun.
If you stay within your own lounge room on your own sofa, you're not necessarily going to find the people who are out there who are doing more interesting things. So I think like in all areas of life, it actually is getting out of your own backyard, getting out of your own small microcosm out into the kind of world in general.
I mean, people who know me really well would know fundamentally I'm quite shy. But actually medicine allows you to do things through doing things together, intellectually connecting with people, finding people who have like interests, and then becoming part of common projects over time. A lot of the things that we care about do not get fixed overnight. They're not just one social event, they're not just one dinner party.
Remaining connected with colleagues, with friends, with family, you cannot do this on your own. These careers are challenging, they are fraught with change and difficulty, opportunity, and you have to actually stay connected within a social network, within a family network, and within a collegiate network.
I now work for government, which is really interesting, looking at policy for whole of population instead of just the one patient in front of you.
About 3 years ago, I suddenly realised that my patients are getting sicker and not better. And after sitting approximately 30 years in my office, I suddenly thought, wait a minute, there's something I'm not doing right here. So I thought, well, I can't fix them on my own. So let's get outside of the consultation room and go and see where the problems are. And that journey has taken me mentally quite a long way, physically only around the block, this area where I work in Moorwijk, which is an inner city area, pretty deprived area, more a forgotten area. It just seemed like the right thing to do to find out who else was in the area, who else was busy trying to fix systemic problems. I've taken a lot of inspiration from the blue zones and those Dan Buettner's 7 areas around the world where people have for longevity, live for a long time and are most happy in their communities. And he looks at the factors that are at work there that create that. It's a very holistic view of seeing your patient, where you see the patient as a whole person and you connect them with their community. The goal is to allow children to grow up here in a healthy place, so you feel like you're contributing to a useful goal. Because if I carried on doing what I was doing, which is just fixing somebody's toenails or their liver or their whatever, their cholesterol or their blood pressure, but they're still, if you take a step back and look at the statistics, they're all dying early. So it ain't fixing it, is it? If you don't answer the call, you get tired and you get worn out and you get used up. And if you can find that something that is calling you to tell you to do it and to be part of it and to be involved in it, it will give you so much energy and it will give you a lot of life force and a lot of excitement to do something new and to do something useful. And there's a lot of people out there who want to have a useful goal, because there are a lot of people who've been helping me who you wouldn't expect. And if you've got a good feeling that you're going the right way, people will join you.
Realising that we have agency as doctors, that even though we might be working in an enormously large hierarchy and system, that every single one of us has the ability to influence things for the better.
You're a player in a system with an untold amount of influence and information that you can put to good use. And so you grow into that role when you realise what you can do.
We are part of a hierarchy that actually is able to affect change and can improve the quality of life and the outcomes for the communities of people that we treat. So we have a responsibility.
I talk with a lot of doctors at the moment, senior doctors, who feel somewhat overwhelmed. And they know that they feel responsible too. They do actually feel responsible. They're really medicine's great. It's filled with really nice people, but sometimes they're a bit too sensitive. They sort of feel overwhelmed by it and have forgotten actually how powerful they are. There are people in very senior positions in government, very senior positions in civil society, who want to know what they think. They're not just what position do they hold, they want to know what they think. They want to know what problems are. And so I think we need to actually just recognise ourselves the importance of that, the privilege of that, the opportunity of that. And when you act on it, you feel a whole lot better about it. Instead of bitching with your relatives and colleagues at home about doing nothing, I can't change anything, get out there.
I mean, there's some really good examples of that in terms of, doctors who get involved in advocating for climate change, particularly looking at the aspects of climate change on people's mental health and on kind of global health, and also about, the status of refugees. You don't need to do these things on your own. They are things that you can do collectively with a group of like-minded people.
It's often out of deep knowledge of those systems what would really make a difference. And there are people who want to know, and there are people who need to know, and we have that to offer.
We all use metaphors in our lives, particularly when we're talking about our well-being or illness or coping with difficulty. We talk about feeling under the weather or on top of the world and the creative use of words in things like poetry, stories, creative visualizations and meditations, even a positive affirmation can be enormously supportive. And I learned this for real when I was going through cancer and cancer treatment, and I was drawn to particularly using positive and hopeful metaphors for my healing. Good health are two words that we use that don't immediately conjure up feelings, but supposing I said to you a fountain of health, that's a metaphor, and a fountain elicits qualities like energy, sparkling light, something that moves upwards and outwards. So it's about how you access what is a natural tendency for the body and mind to heal itself and support itself without the thinking getting in the way.
And of course there are other metaphors around trees and roots and how you strengthen the roots and how you enable people to build from one season to another. There are all those horticultural and botanical and natural metaphors that exist that we use a lot in my world of practice development. And often we also do reflective techniques where we just go out for a walk, where you notice the trees and the shapes of the leaves and the patterns that they create and whether they help to inform a plan or a direction that you're going in. And it's something you can do with people, patients, staff, colleagues as well. And if you come through this gateway now, it's a lovely gateway here, so you're entering a different era on a lovely tree. Look at that beautiful tree. Thinking about wisdom and what wisdom we have amongst ourselves that we can reflect and draw on and guide our decisions and ways of working with each other. They're very powerful, that tree. Must be really old.
There will be difficulties ahead for all of us, whatever we do and however well we are at this time. But actually seeing one's role rather than a drain on the soul, spirit, to see it as something that builds one's wisdom and becomes a blessing for one's own life, whatever that might bring. I think that's fantastic, really.